a few We've got a few hybrid and a few coming in live. It's a good combo, and it's time at 1:03 to get started on Tuesday, April 13, 2023, for the Clark County Schools Advisory Council. We really welcome you all, whether you're here in hybrid fashion or in person. We're delighted to be doing these programs with you and to give you the opportunity to know the people at the county, if you don't already, so that whenever you are in need of something, that you may know exactly who to call, and hopefully we can work with you to get it done. Um, I thought that maybe for our introductions today, we could give just a little sentence or two if we're countering anything right now that might be interesting to others, or having another experience that sometimes we face in the worlds in which we live. And so I guess I'll just begin. My name is Karen Bowerman, and I am the chair of the Clark County Council. So that is a position that is not elected people. I'm just a district representative, like all of our counselors. And then on the council per se, we select a chair for a year. So hopefully, a lot of people in kind of a round table fashion have the opportunity to experience that role. So we're fortunate in this capacity to have Jenna Kay work with us from community planning, because she does such a great job in getting this organized, keeping this organized, and keeping really interesting topics at hand for us to chat about. So, Jenna, if you would like to introduce yourself next, and then help us go around round table to get everyone introduced.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Chair Bowerman. My name is Jenna Kay. I've emailed you all multiple times about this meeting, so I'm in the coordinating role from community planning here at the county. Let's see, Chair or Councilor Belcott, would you like to introduce yourself next?
Sure. Thanks, Jenna. I'm Councilor Michelle Belcott. I was appointed in January. I'm a District 2 counselor, which is Philida, Salmon Creek, Minnehaha, Hazeldale, and a little bit out to Five Corners. And I'll turn it over to the next person.
Okay. Let's see. Brandy?
Hello, I'm Brandy O'Shea, and I'm the secretary for the Vancouver Neighborhood Alliance. And this is my first meeting. Normally, Glenn Young is the one who normally attends these.
And Brett Blechschmidt?
Hi, I'm Brett Blechschmidt, Associate Superintendent and Chief Operating Officer for Vancouver Public Schools.
And Bridget?
I'm Bridget McCleman, and I represent the Neighborhood Association of Clark County.
Isla?
Hi, I'm Isla Stanek. I am president of West Hazeldale and also vice chair of NAP. And since Bridget is there and will do an excellent job and will always ask better questions than I will, maybe I will just pop out and let her handle it. We don't need both of us. We kind of just want to cover one another. Is that all right with everybody? Bridget, you okay with that?
Sounds good.
Thank you, girl.
Okay, next we have Kimberly. Kimberly, can you hear us?
Are you wanting Kimberly Walker Norton or another Kimberly?
Yes, yes, Kimberly Walker Norton. Go ahead.
Sorry. Hi guys, I'm Kimberly Walker Norton. I'm the Community Health Protections Manager within Clark County Public Health, and I oversee the school health and safety
Thank you. And John Anzalone.
Good afternoon, John Anzalone, Superintendent for Camas School District. Good to be here.
Okay, and let's see, Kevin Jolma.
Hi, Kevin Jolma. I'm the Executive Director of Operations here at Battleground School District.
And Jen Baker. Jen, if you're able to unmute, would you like to introduce yourself? Okay, I'll come back to Jen. Let's see, Leanne Bremer.
Hi everyone. This is Leanne Bremer. I'm a local attorney assisting all the Clark County school districts with their capital facilities planning and impact fee calculations.
And Mary Templeton?
Yes, hello, my name is Mary Templeton, and I'm the superintendent of the Washington School District. I think there was a prompt at the beginning to talk about something interesting. I said to my mother last night, the job of the superintendent today is not boring, and that's all I'm going to say right now.
You identify, don't you?
Let's see, and Steve Marshall?
Hello, I'm Steve Marshall. I'm the superintendent of the Hawkinson School District. Hello, everyone.
All right, and let's see, Jen Baker. Jen, I can see you're
connecting.
Yeah, I can see you're unmuted, but I can't hear you. Maybe I may try to work on the side with you, Jen, to make sure that we can hear you. In the meantime, let's see, Jackie Camp.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jackie Camp. I'm with Clark County Community Planning with Jenna here. I'm sitting in here for Oliver Orjaco, director, as he usually attends these, as he's out of the office this week. So I'm glad to be here, and we always have interesting projects. If the question was of interest, you'll see what we have on the agenda here. Lots going on in Clark County.
Okay, and we've got a few more staff here to introduce. So let's see, April?
Yeah, so hi, I'm April Firth. I am the Director of Community Development.
And Max?
My name is Max Booth. I'm the Deputy Director for Community Development.
And Susan?
Hello, I'm Susan Ellinger. I'm a planner with Community Planning, and I'll be sharing some information about housing and the Aging Readiness Plan with you later today.
Okay, I think I got everyone, but if I missed anyone, please feel free to introduce yourself now.
I think you did too. I just had a question of someone, if that would be okay. It's my own lack of familiarity with your position, and I am just wondering how that fits in. Brandy, you said that you are working with the neighborhoods, and I wondered if you could describe a little bit about your position. What do you do?
So I volunteer with the Vancouver Neighborhood Alliance. We're a group of neighborhood leaders, basically. I'm also the chairperson for Maplewood Neighborhood Association. So we try to coordinate with the some of the county, but mostly with the cities, to share information of what's going on with different neighborhoods and see how to get more of the neighborhoods involved. I know Glenn is our treasurer, and he's, I think, normally on these meetings, so I'm not exactly totally sure. I know I'm just supposed to represent the VNA, but...
Well,
yeah,
it's good to have you. And I don't think Glenn has had an opportunity to come to one of these meetings yet since he was elected. So there you have it.
That's correct. Yes, he's a little bit busier now. So
you're leading the charge. So, Brandy, how do you go about getting more neighborhoods involved?
It's been a struggle. So we have a list of some of the active neighborhood associations from the city of Vancouver. Like William Cooley is one of our contacts. So once we find out, one of the ways we go about is sending emails, or if we find out that there's a neighborhood meeting that's going to be starting, one of us will come to the meeting and let them know why the benefits of joining the VNA. Or if there's any questions people may have, things like that. So we offer there's quite a few different things that we can help to get the neighborhoods more involved. And I'm trying to get my neighborhood specifically more involved also. Right now, I'm the only person on my board, but eventually it'll get better.
Yeah, starting with your own neighborhood is terrific, because that's where you can really have impact initially. So good for you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll send an invite to everybody on this meeting so that you all can come to a Maplewood Neighborhood Association meeting.
Well, thank you for letting me, Jenna, divert from the agenda that you have set, because I was interested in learning more, and I would suggest that if any of you want to cross question somebody else who is here, feel free to, because that's how we best network, right?
Right. Thank you so much. Yes.
So, Jenna, back to you.
Okay, so I think I'm going to pull up the meeting minutes from the last time this group met, which was April of 2022. So we do need a motion just to finalize those meeting notes from last year. So we are looking for a motion on those.
If you didn't have a chance to look over them, they are on the monitor in front of you. I did have a chance to look over them, and they look terrific. I think it would be best, though, if somebody who is actually a member of the School Advisory Council made the motion, so I won't. But they do look right on.
From CRDC, move to approve.
Thank
you. McCleman, Knack, second.
Thank you. Jenna, do you hear any discussion? I don't. But if there are any edits, additions, corrections, let us know. And hearing none, the minutes stand approved as drafted. I appreciate their thoroughness, and thank you for doing that.
Okay, so next, just pull up the schedule for the year really quick. And just as a reminder or intro for those of you new to the group, in the past several years, the group has settled on meeting twice a year, with the spring meeting focused on growth and development and planning type topics, and then the fall meeting to focus on legislative priorities, see if there's any areas of overlap with county council and school district legislative priorities. And if we don't really have enough topics, we tend to cancel the meeting. But anyway, that's the plan we have for this year, meeting today and then again in November. And you know, if anything comes up that you think this is the right forum for discussion on a topic, please feel free to let me know, and we are glad to get it on an agenda. So that's all.
So with that in mind, and I think that is a good way to divide the topics. It's kind of interesting to me, with as much as we have on the legislative agenda now, to be taking that up in detail so much later in the year, but there will be much continuing information coming from that front for sure. How about community development update? You've met April 1st, just when she said hello. Oh, you know what? I see Jen Baker. Is that you, Jen? Can you hear us? Can you?
I can't hear you. I had to dial in with my phone. I'm not sure if folks can also hear me now. But good afternoon, everyone. Jen Baker with CREDC, and happy to be at the table.
Oh, tell us what CREDC does.
So CREDC, we are a public-private nonprofit, and we are the county's designated development organization in partnership with the state of Washington, and we work to help existing businesses grow, and we work to recruit new businesses to the region. And we all know that skilled workforce and an active talent pool are a part of that conversation. So we also partner with the school districts and higher ed.
How do you go about doing that, Jan? I'm going to ask you these questions because we missed your initial introduction when your microphone wasn't on. So how do you go about partnering with the school districts?
Well, in a couple of different ways. We host a support people committee meeting, which looks at the skills that people are emerging into the workforce with and the skills that companies are recruiting for most actively. So on the company side, we consult with companies on a regular basis to hear what their most urgent recruitment needs are. And then we help convey that information to schools. And we're getting ready to publish a talent initiative. It's a set of web and digital collateral that looks, there were skills and characteristics identified by companies and public sector leaders for the types of skills that are most in high demand and how those come into play in their workplaces. So it's a playful campaign, and we're excited to launch that. We've also launched and will continue to develop a Brain Gain initiative, whereby we're marketing the region to families and younger people who might move here to grow and cultivate their careers and help us build our talent base out that way.
Thank you. You've got so many programs going. I know that you could talk for the next hour and not be finished with describing all of them. But I hope that when school districts have the interest and need in coordinating that, they know how exactly to reach you. And CREDC is certainly quite available, and you as its CEO are right there. So I started to say a moment ago that you had just met April 1st when we were going around and doing introductions. So April, let's go back to you. And if you would kick off the community development update.
Awesome. Thank you, Chair. My name is April 1st, and I have Max with me, who's Deputy Director of Community Development. And I tried something different this year than last year. I tried something different last year too. So basically, so if you want to go to the next slide, I have more questions for you. I want to know what kind of information, so I'll go through, but I'll go through my presentation, but what I want to know from you is what is most helpful, what kind of information, if I provided for you, would be helpful. We made an interactive map last year, and it's updated, but we looked at the traffic, and there wasn't a lot of traffic on that interactive map. So I don't want to do something that isn't going to be helpful. So when we are done, maybe we can discuss what you would like to hear from me and what would be most helpful to you in your school district. Okay. And do you need an interactive map? That's one of my questions. And then before I move on, a couple of definitions, because I refer to NHCs, which are new home constructions, single family, MFMs, which are multifamily residential, those are apartments, ADS, There are several different ADSs, but the only ones I'm talking about in this presentation is an ADU, so they could have a family in them, and then mobile home placement, so MBH, just in case I refer to that in the future. And one other thing to remember because is that I only have statistics for unincorporated Clark County, so the city jurisdictions are not represented in my presentation. So that as you'll see when we go through some slides, that's going to affect a couple of you. Okay, so next slide. This is just all the different permits that happened from March of 2022 to March of 2023. So when I did this presentation for you last year, it went to March of 2022, and so then I just picked up where we left off. And so these are all of the permits that happened during that time. Next slide. We start with Battleground School District. This was the presentation from last year. So just for a little reminder, I went through from 2019 all lot applications. So any applications that came through community development where a lot was being subdivided, which would create eventually would create another home or could create another home if that's what they intended for it. And then I just go on for building permits after that. But what you're probably really going to care about is the next slide, which is what happened in last year. So what we did was I looked at all the building permits. So maybe not, I think that lot applications might be a little too futuristic. And so I tried to think of what matters to you right now. And so these are building permits that are ready to issue, in the process of being built, or in review currently. So it could affect you in the next year or two. The Battleground School District has 64 NHC permits, now just in unincorporated, 64 new home constructions, 9 multifamily or apartments, 10 ADUs, and 2 mobile home permits. So a potential of 200 new families moving to the area. And then a map that shows it. So that will be on the next slide. And the map that is bigger is the most current map. So you have a 2019 to 2021, a 21 to 22, and then the most current one. So you can see where those permits are going on your school district map. And this is what the interactive map will tell you also. So that's why I'm like, I don't know if you need the interactive map because you would have this for a full year. But yeah, I want you to tell me. I don't want to take a tool away if you're going to use it. All right, if we go to the next one, this is Camas School District. And this was last year's presentation. And then if we go to the next slide, Camas School District for unincorporated Clark County only had 1 ADU permit. So I'm assuming that most of the building was happening inside city limits. And then on the next slide is the map. Next is Evergreen School District. And this was last year's presentation. And then this is what's happening in Evergreen School District for the last year. So 51 new home construction permits, 4 ADUs. It's a potential of 55 new families outside of the city limits moving into that school district. And then the map. And if anyone has any questions, stop me at any time. Chair, did you have a question?
April, what is the comparative number totals from what your work showed last year versus for this year? It looks like they are going down.
Well, for Evergreen, let's just take the Evergreen as an example. In 2021, they had 30 new home construction permits. In 2020, from March of 2022 to March of 2023, they had 51.
Wow.
So when I built it so that's, yeah, I thought of doing this a couple ways, but when I built the presentation last year, it hadn't been done in a while, so I had to combine some years. So it does look like that at first glance. And it's interesting when I was updating it, there are clusters. So you'll see clusters, especially around Vancouver city limits, where it went up a lot, or Battleground for that matter to me. Battleground stood out as having some major growth in the next year and a half in buildings. Okay, Hawkinson School District. Now, last year in the presentation, I remember thinking 68 lot applications since 2019. I thought I would see a bigger spike coming for Hawkinson School District in the next year and a half than what I see on the next slide. So the next slide so far is 13 new home constructions, 5 ADUs, so 18 new potential families. With those lot applications, I was actually expecting to see more. With the lot applications to split, I was expecting to see more building, and so I don't know if that is still too futuristic. And then for Hawkinson School District, their comparison map looks a little different than everyone else's. Sorry about that, but they were not vertical. And I could not make them vertical. So there you go. La Center goes next. And like La Center did not have new home construction in unincorporated in 2021 or 2022. And then if we go to this year, they had one. And then if you go to the next map, it'll show two, and that is because the report that I sent GIS had ADSs on them, and I think I said a little bit earlier, not all ADSs are, you can't live in all ADSs. ADSs sometimes also include shops. So GIS was not able to extract those. So that's why you see two here when I just said one. All right, Ridgefield is next. So Ridgefield in 2021 had 8 new home construction permits, but 18 MFM in 2021. And in the last year, they have 6 new apartment buildings with an estimated 223 units coming, 2 NHCs and 1 ADS. So a potential of 226 new families moving in the next year and a half. And their map also looks a little interesting. It will look interesting to you with those numbers, and that's because the apartments are going to show all in one space probably. So 6 MFM buildings could be just one complex. So it won't show it won't capture all of it because one dot means 6. Vancouver School District is next. And this is their last year presentation, and if we go to their this year presentation, 12 apartments, 623 units, 63 new home construction, 21 ADUs, and I think I remember being surprised. They have 2 years of strong ADUs, 2021 and 2022. People are really utilizing that urban ADU there, so I thought that was very interesting. 707 potential new residents. And then their map. And Washougal School District. And that was last year's presentation.
Sure. Would you mind reminding me what the difference is between without permits and with permits? What's the difference? You probably said that at the beginning. I just missed it.
I didn't this time. I'm trying to. Oh, those were the lot applications. So last year, you had 13 lot applications. Only 38% of them had building permits associated. So to me, the way I was looking at it, when you put 62%, that still could be developed in some way. It doesn't mean developed by an apartment complex, but it did mean someone did a lot application for something, for it to split in half and become 2 residences. So you had the lot application. That's why I'm saying, I think that I looked at lot applications last year, and I think I might have been too futuristic, because just because someone does a lot application doesn't mean they're going to do anything with it in the next 5, 10 years even, possibly. So that's why I pared it down this year to just building permits. So the potential, you had a potential of 62% more development. The potential was there, but it didn't happen, or hasn't happened yet. And then the map. Green Mountain School District, and they had 180 yes. Okay. So I'm trying to figure out what future data do you need? What do you need that will be impactful to you? Because some of these seemed very impactful, like for Vancouver School District, or even maybe Battleground School District, but probably not so much for everybody else. And I was just wondering what data I could provide to you that would be helpful. What is it missing that goes through community development? And if you can't think of anything now, I have a really easy email address. It's april.firth@clark.wa.gov.
April, this is Steve. I just want to thank you for compiling all the data. And then I do think the presentation format works. The stupid question, or the silly question of the day is, when I look at my district, I look at some of these others like Washougal, the numbers don't seem to totally line up with what you see, right, in terms of construction. So is there a lag always? Is that kind of what we're seeing? We're seeing things that have been approved 5, 10 years ago. Or can you explain sometimes why you might see more activity currently than what you're showing in the last year?
Well, Washougal will be a little bit different than Hawkinson, because Washougal's probably there. I'm assuming that their development is within their city limits. So I can't, Washougal, Camas, Battleground even, I can't, or I guess I probably could figure out how to, but I don't have the data as available from the city jurisdictions, and that's probably where most of the building is happening. I was actually surprised by how much was happening in Vancouver School District and unincorporated. But Hawkinson's different because you're all in mine. And that's
right. And so I appreciate that distinction. So yeah, if we're seeing a lot of activity, then that is the explanation. It would be within, I guess, municipal bounds, and then there's county. And so the county may not show as much activity. So thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And then also, are you seeing, April, are you seeing more infilling? And I think I saw a lot of multifamily, like in Vancouver, for instance. Is that kind of the trend? Is there more multifamily density kind of developments? Is that kind of what's going on? Or is there any way you can characterize a trend?
I would say that within Ridgefield and Battleground, I think that there are more MFM applications than what have previously been there. I know that the city of Vancouver does a lot of those, so maybe as density is allowed, that is coming into unincorporated more. I would say, too, though, that I'm seeing currently a lot of cottage homes, or cottage developments, which create smaller lots and more density. I'm seeing more of those than I am anything else. And cottage homes, they're not as dense as a multifamily, like an apartment complex, but they're more dense than what we're used to seeing. And I know that the city of Vancouver, from talks with them that they're not seeing the same application flow for cottage homes as we are, if that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you for the
So
information. Appreciate it.
the density I'm seeing is in cottage homes, basically. Except for, I would say, Ridgefield and Battleground, I see. The MFM applications are more unusual for them in recent years.
April, this is Jen Baker. I had a quick question also, which is sometimes in the industrial and mostly the industrial footprint, we'll see a developer acquire land and file a permit, but not activate to develop that permit. And I know what it gets reported out in this call is when applications to build get filed. Are you seeing any trend of slow up or balking or permits that are getting filed but not getting realized in terms of built structure that comes online?
I don't think so. And I've been in this job. This is probably my second year with the county. And no, I expected to see more of that actually in the last couple months, and I didn't. I'm actually seeing projects come off hold.
Yeah, that's great feedback. Mostly for us, it's been on the industrial side, a couple of companies that have bought larger swaths of land with the intent of doing distribution or that sort of thing. And I think the need kind of reached the threshold of the build out in the near term. So I'm glad to know that's not happening in the case of housing, where we know we need so much more inventory to accommodate smart growth. Also, just as a shout out, April's being super modest, but April is a great liaison to CRDC when we're working with companies and trying to navigate permitting timelines and questions kind of back and forth. CRDC serves in that ombudsperson role, and April, we really appreciate you as a partner in that way. So thank you.
Thank you. That's actually, thank you very much. And that is a segue to one of the points, which was E-Plan. When we met last year, I knew that we were going to be implementing E-Plan, but we hadn't done it yet. We are 100% paperless at this point, and just we're getting through the learning curve. When did we launch it? September?
September 19th.
September 19th we launched it, and I knew there was going to be a learning curve, but my team really got over that learning curve pretty quickly. So permit times, we were just talking about it this morning, permit times are 5 weeks for tax lots, much shorter for subdivision homes. We are seeing an influx right now of subdivision homes, but there is some leeway baked into the system for the permit center to be able to move people from one review to the next to try to speed up when that happens, because permitting can be pretty volatile sometimes, so you have to be quick on your feet. But thank you for that. So yeah, the permitting times have been steady. And oh, this did come up last time too. We do, especially for the summer, we have a quicker time for schools. So you just have to tell us and try to pre-warn us that school projects are coming in. We do have a group of people who try to move those through faster. I say faster, it is our intent, but it also is based on all the information that we do need from those projects. So we try to be faster as much as possible, but we still need a certain amount of information to make that happen. And I think that's it for me, yeah?
And Chair, I think you're muted.
Thank you. Yes. I just wondered from April if she's getting the feedback she needs on data to produce in the future to really be of help to the schools.
I just want to make sure this makes a difference.
Oh, sorry. This is Leanne Bremer. I mentioned earlier, I help the school districts with their capital facilities planning, and I would say absolutely this information is extremely helpful. And I appreciate the mapping and the list of permits that are being applied for. That's very useful.
Leanne, do you all feel that you have access to the mapping on your own monitors so you can make it big and do whatever you need to with it?
Yes, I think after last year when it was first rolled out, I tested it out and I don't recall having any issues. So I'll do it again.
Great.
Because I haven't done it in a while, but I will check it out.
Great. And if anyone has problems, obviously April and her office are ready to assist.
Great, thank you.
Is there anything that you'd like to add, April?
I think that's it for me.
I'd like to ask Counselor Michelle Belcott, since you are a counselor, deal a lot therefore with housing, and come from a background that is not unlike the background of many in our audience. So I'm wondering if there's anything that you would like to add or suggest to April.
No, it's all, well, since I'm new to this committee, it's all very interesting and I'm learning a lot. I'm surprised at the number of ADUs actually that are being built in Vancouver School District. That to me is pretty interesting.
It surprises me too.
There are a lot. There are a lot, aren't there?
Yeah, there is. They're really gaining popularity, it seems like. But I guess that makes sense with the housing shortage and housing affordability too. So that makes sense.
Would you talk, April, a little bit about the implications of ADUs for the schools? For example, sometimes parking is impacted, sometimes other space issues are impacted for the children. What are your thoughts there?
I mean, for the school district, I definitely counted ADUs as potential families moving in, because we do have a housing shortage. So I thought that if people were building them, that's what they would be used for. I mean, we tried to take in consideration parking right now when people apply for ADUs. Parking is taken consideration. I don't know what that looks like, what's going on in the state, and what that looks like for our future. I don't know if that will be taken into consideration. But, I mean, and as far as children, if we do have people renting out ADUs on their own property, that is less possible room for a child to be outside if there were, it would take up room of a yard, and they would have to be sharing a yard with somebody else. But to the schools, I think that the biggest impact is the potential of the families that would be coming into their school district.
April, I'm just wondering, what determination are you using to predict that those are families coming in instead of senior citizens, perhaps, or other?
And I didn't. I just said if there's an ADU, that is a potential for a family with a child.
That was actually going to be my next question. Like, do they tell, like, do you know if it's like they're using the ADUs for families or like mother-in-law houses, like for, elderly family members?
No, the only time we would know that is when people apply for a hardship, and I actually didn't count hardships for that reason. So you can apply for a hardship permit, which could put, there are certain qualifications that you have to meet, medical, financial, to where you can put a family member on your property and take care of them in that way. And I didn't include those because I didn't think that most of the time that equals children.
Would a hardship include a son or a daughter who has a young family who can't quite make it on their own and they're economically disadvantaged? So they move into, so I'm the property owner, instead of my child in the basement, they're now living in the ADU on my property in the backyard. Is that a possibility? Or would they have to, is there a medical and an economic disadvantage required for that hardship?
I will answer you after someone else goes and I have time to research it.
Okay.
But it won't take me more than a minute.
No worries. I
Yeah.
simply have more questions than are needed, so sorry.
Yeah, no, it's a good question.
To put it this way, though, it could mean that. So part of the hardship could be a younger couple moving in with small children to take care of, an elderly couple or whatever, no doubt, we can find the specifics on what qualifies them for a hardship, but the hardship could be either way. Someone moving in who needs the assistance, or bringing someone in to assist someone who's living there.
Yeah.
So it could go either way if they meet the qualifications for the hardship. And to Councilor Belkoff's question, an ADU could be anything to that point too. It isn't necessarily senior citizens or necessarily young families. It's an accessory dwelling unit for any way the property owner wants to use it. So.
Further questions or comments? Hearing none, how about if we switch gears to the transportation update? And thank you all very much for the discussion on community development. That was terrific. On the transportation update, let's turn to Gary Albrecht.
Okay, and Gary is going to share his screen, so just give us a moment. Okay, Gary, I think you should be able to share now.
I've tried.
Okay.
Let me try again. There we go. Thank you. So, good afternoon, Chair Bowerman and council members.
Hi.
I'm Gary Albrecht, a transportation planner with Community Planning. I'm here to talk about safe routes to school. So it's a robust public transportation system is necessary to support schools as community centers. Some students don't have another means to get to and from school before and after school activities. To enable and encourage including those with disabilities to walk from bicycle to school, we take a comprehensive look at the environment to improve safety by reviewing sidewalk conditions, lighting, and ensuring compliance with the American with Disabilities Act. The transportation element of the comprehensive plan contains policies encouraging walking and biking through the built environment and connectivity between schools, facilities, and other community facilities. Clark County Public Health has a school and health safety program that allows staff to review all construction projects for K to 12 public, private, and parochial schools in accordance with state laws. Clark County's 6-year transportation improvement program has an ongoing program for sidewalks and ADA compliance that can fund approximately $450,000 per year plus any grants received for specific projects that could be combined to fund school safety improvements. Chris Carl and I are lead staff on this ongoing program. As you know, the Safe Routes to School program improves the safety and mobility for children by encouraging and enabling them to walk and bike to school. Washington State Department of Transportation Safe Routes to School program for the 2023 to 2025 awarded 2 projects in Clark County. The Truman Elementary School safety improvements, and then Hawkinson Elementary School safety improvements as well. Clark County has a school zone traffic safety control policy that was approved in 2016 that provides assessments for school for when school crossings, reduced school speed zones, school areas, and school zone flashers should be implemented. The policy includes defining roles for school crossings that do not have a traffic signal or a traffic control sign. We call these types of crossings controlled crossings. And crossings without any signals or stop signs are called uncontrolled crossings. So, and Clark County requires protection of an adult in crossing schools with children present during school hours. It also provides guidance in the school zone on the use of appropriate traffic control devices and provides guidelines on signing, striping, and illumination requirements. Clark County pedestrian crossing treatment policy includes a decision tree explaining how to use the Clark County school zone traffic control policy for controlled intersections and uncontrolled intersections. One of the pedestrian treatments is the use of flashing beacons. Flashing beacons are user-activated amber LED lights that emphasize warning signs at uncontrolled pedestrian crossings and are manually activated by pedestrians pushing the button. Flashing beacons comply with our national standards. Another pedestrian treatment example is the pedestrian hybrid beacon. They are activated by users as well. Upon activation, the LED illuminates flashing yellow beacon, then changes to solid yellow to communicate to drivers to prepare to stop. The beacon changes to a steady red one once it is safe for a pedestrian to cross, followed by a flashing red light during the pedestrian clearance interval. We've got the use of speed feedback signs. We call them speed limit beacons. They're as seen in the picture on the right side of the screen. They're used to supplement a speed limit sign. They can be fixed or mobile signs. Clark County has a couple of mobile speed limit beacons that are most effective when used on a rotating basis. As drivers get used to the speed, they go back to the speeding before they saw the speed your speed limit sign. They're working on requiring more speed limit beacons right now. Clark County's school zone traffic control policy includes identifying school district responsibilities. For new schools or schools undergoing major expansion or reconstruction, district will be required to identify all necessary pedestrian treatments, including traffic control devices and infrastructure improvement necessary to accommodate a safe route to school and pedestrian safety and mobility. District is responsible for all design, engineering, and construction costs for school zone related to traffic control, pedestrian safety, and mobility improvements. Clark County's pedestrian crossing treatment policy can help the school district identify pedestrian treatments. Please work with staff early on in the process of identifying a new school site. In this slide, there are a few helpful links for the information that I just talked about during the presentation. We've got, click on the link, they'll take you to the school zone traffic control policy. It's a great document. Public Works worked on a pedestrian crossing treatment policy, school health and safety technical advisory group. And I know and later our county engineer always likes me to throw in the report a park or road concern link when I have the opportunity to talk about roads inside Clark County. So that's the link, and you can click on any of these, and they're active, and they will work. I can answer any questions if you have any questions.
Gary, I'll kick off with a question here. There is probably no subject that causes our constituents greater concern than when they have a fear for a child at a crosswalk or a child walking around a bus that is unprotected, etc. And so my question is, when we see matters that could use the attention of the county in figuring out how to make it safer, how do you like to have that interface with you so that action can be taken? I mean, I've seen everything from angry letters with pictures attached to, just a nice phone call. How do you prefer? What is most effective?
Well, normally we would have our constituents contact our county traffic engineer. I know we've just hired a new one, and I'm not sure his name, but it used to be Rob Klug would take care of a lot of these comments. So I will learn our new traffic engineer, get in touch with him. So You can contact the, let's see, I'm going to click on this link. It's the best way for people to report concerns. Oh, I'm not. There is a phone number on here. There's no phone number, of course. Oh, an immediate response, 564-397-2446. And, you know, can I also add that, so the part of the pedestrian crossing prioritization policies, we've been able to use GIS and create an interface where we've looked at over 7,000 intersections across Clark County. So we've been able to rank them based on needs. So if someone calls in to us and say, hey, I really think we need a crosswalk at this specific spot, so we can go back and look at the criteria and see how it fits in our program and see how it's ranked. And if it's ranked high enough, we can move it up into a place where we can find funding and grants for it and get improvements built. It's a great tool that we have in place.
Did you say 7,000 intersections are rated?
I did, yes. Yep. It's a great system. We got a huge spreadsheet. It's amazing.
That is a big spreadsheet.
Yes. Yeah, it's a user interactive tool. I mean, if you ever like, I'd love to show that to you, you know, on a individual time. It's a great tool. It's something that's
Amazing.
Good for the public to see. And
Yes.
we've had some turnovers with our traffic engineers, and our goal was eventually to have this tool placed on our public works website, but it hasn't gotten there since we've had some turnover. Now that we're stabilizing, hopefully we can get it on our public works webpage.
And for the public just to realize that that is available and that it will be utilized when they report a concern, that's huge.
Yeah, I thought so too. Yes, thank you. It's some good stuff they've done.
Yeah.
Work on.
Gary,
Yes.
Steve Gallup is the new Rob Klug.
Oh, okay. Hi, Steve. I'll take it.
He's not here, but Gallu.
Thank you.
So they can always contact him too with questions.
Oh, good.
I'll let him know
Gary,
when
this
I meet him.
Hi, Gary. It's Kimberly from the School Health and Safety Program. When you make that active live on your website, can you give me a heads up so that we can do a link from the School Health and Safety page over to your guys's as well too?
What was your question again?
When you make you said that you were going to make that information live on your website.
Oh, yes, eventually, yes.
When you do, if you could let me know, and then we could make a link on the School Health and Safety page over to Public Works so that you get complaints as well too in the program that generally are coming from parents. So I think that would be really helpful for them as well too.
Yes, we can do that.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Are there other questions or comments?
I just have a quick question on the School Health and Safety Technical Advisory Group, and I did not yet click on that link. Is that specific to patient or student physical safety while being transported to and from school or walking to and from school? Is that specific, or are there other elements of that advisory group that incorporates emotional wellness, those other kinds of safety concerns that we have for our students? Just wondering.
The advisory group is primarily to discuss the fees and how they can plan to budget for the following year, because our fiscal year is offset differently than theirs. So we basically talk about that. We talk about any policy changes that we know are happening, any of the WACs that are updated or changed and what have you with their health assessments. And it's just to keep them abreast of what we know from the state and anything that can potentially be coming their way.
Okay, so policy and finance, basically.
It is.
Okay, thank you.
I clicked on the link. It's on the screen as well. We'll pull it away.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All righty, anything else for transportation? Thank you very much, Gary, and we appreciate your work, and we do want to link to that page of yours when it is posted. So if you need any help in getting the word out on that, there are others ready at the county to help you do that. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you too.
So let's turn our attention now to Susan Ellinger and Jenna Kay for a community planning update.
Great. Thank you, Chair Bowerman, and thank you everyone for attending today. My name is Susan Ellinger. I'm a planner with community planning, and I'm going to talk to you about a couple of the projects we're working on right now. Next slide, please. So the first project I'm going to talk about is the Housing Options Study and Action Plan. And in May of 2022, the Clark County Council approved the plan for the unincorporated Vancouver area, which is shown here. And this area primarily overlaps with the Vancouver and Evergreen school districts, but also overlaps with the Ridgefield and Battleground school districts.
Let's do a double check on those slides, if you don't mind my interrupting there. I show the School Advisory Council. I think you're in a different place.
Let me.
We had this problem earlier today. I'm actually seeing a slide with a map, so not sure what's going on.
I also see the map.
Thanks, Jackie.
Chair, it seems like maybe your computer might be delayed or frozen.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Are others seeing the map?
I see the map.
I'm seeing some hands up.
As long as others are on board with where you are, that's all that matters.
Okay, sorry about that. Talking about the Housing Option Study and Action Plan. And the plan was created to help understand local housing challenges in the area, encourage creation of more housing options that could be affordable to low and moderate income households, and provide access to affordable, quality, and flexible housing for future generations. With the adoption of the plan, the County Council directed staff to begin implementation of short-term development code-based strategies in 2 batches. Batch 1 includes middle housing and smaller single-family code updates, and Batch 2 includes multifamily and regulated affordable housing code updates. Next slide, please. So staff is, like I mentioned, staff is currently working on the first batch of code updates relating to middle housing and smaller single-family standards. And some of the main features of the updates that we're working on include being able to use existing land more efficiently by allowing more housing to be built on land that's already planned for residential development, allowing a variety of smaller scale housing, such as accessory dwelling units, duplexes, and townhouses throughout neighborhoods, maintaining neighborhood scale for new development by setting comparable sizes for new middle housing options, expanding development options for more smaller lots and homes in new developments, making room for more housing with modest off-street parking reductions, and permitting more housing through streamlined permitting processes. Next slide, please. So the implementation portion of the project has included feedback from a technical housing code forum with representatives of the housing and development industries, and a public information meeting was also held in March. The Batch 1 code changes are currently slated for consideration by the Planning Commission in May and County Council sometime in the summer of this year. And Batch 2 code changes are planned for consideration before the end of 2023. And I have my contact information on this slide in case anyone is interested in more information. I also wanted to go back and answer a question that came up earlier before I go to questions on this project. I wanted to answer a question that came up earlier regarding changes to the ADU standards. And we are proposing to remove parking standards for ADUs as a part of these changes. And generally, we're trying to remove barriers to producing housing. And so parking can save land for providing the actual units. But also ADUs, generally, there's only one or maybe a couple in a neighborhood. And so in most situations, there would be enough parking on a public street for an ADU. But also a lot of the applications that we see provide parking on the lot where the ADU is being proposed to be developed. So just wanted to go back and try to answer that question. But that's just a little bit about the housing project, and I'm happy to answer questions about that project before I go on to the next one. Okay, I'm not seeing any hands, so I'll go on to the next project. Okay, so the next one is the Aging Readiness Plan update. And this plan is implemented by the Commission on Aging. The Commission's charge is to provide leadership in addressing the special needs of the aging community. We thought that the Schools Advisory Council might be interested in this project because the Commission on Aging regularly hears from grandparents raising their grandchildren. And also there's general interest about multi-generational housing and program opportunities that the Commission hears about. And while the Aging Readiness Plan generally focuses on older adults, most of the strategies ultimately benefit people of all ages. So the existing Aging Readiness Plan has 5 chapters that cover the topics that are listed on the image here. And those include housing, community engagement, supportive services, healthy communities, and transportation. Next slide, please. The Aging Readiness Plan celebrated its 10-year anniversary in 2022, and the update to the plan will refresh it and address changes in the last 10 years, ensure new technologies and services are incorporated, and add a new health and safety chapter. The new chapter will focus on emergency preparedness and include some lessons that we've learned from the COVID-19 pandemic. Next slide, please. So the project includes several public outreach activities, including stakeholder interviews, focus group meetings, and public workshops. And we actually have a hybrid workshop coming up on April 19th to help prioritize the strategies in the plan. And we would appreciate you spreading the word about this workshop to anyone who you think might be interested in participating. And following the public workshops, the strategies will be further evaluated and refined. And then the adoption process will begin with the Planning Commission and County Council, and that's planned for late summer and fall. So I will see if anybody has any questions about that project or the housing project. Okay, I'm not seeing any, so I'm going to pass the presentation to Jenna Kay.
Okay. Well, again, this is Jenna with Community Planning. So I'm the staff member who's working on the School Capital Facility Plan and Impact Fee updates for the 6 school districts who have their updated plans being considered this year. As you know, the Planning Commission, they held their hearing last summer, and the County Council is holding their hearing on these updated CFPs on May 2nd. The hearing meeting is scheduled to start at 10 a.m. And I think just given the timing of this meeting and those hearings coming up, wanted to take a moment, see if any of the school districts had anything to share with the 2 counselors here on anything that sort of revealed itself in that update process in terms of trends you're seeing with student population or facility needs. So want to take a moment for that, and then after that, see if any of the either counselor has any questions for you all. So maybe I'll just pause there and see if any of the school districts wanted to share anything that's standing out to them.
Well, I can start if that's okay, since I'm helping each of the districts with their plan updates. I could say that each district is unique in it's actually kind of incredible given they're all in Southwest Washington, but we're seeing the largest growth, no surprise, in Ridgefield and Battleground, modest growth in Camas, in Vancouver, and then for Green Mountain and Washougal, their plans show some growth, but not enough that would allow them to collect impact fees going forward because of a combination of projected enrollment growth and existing capacity. So when those plans go to the county council on May 2nd, we'll be prepared to discuss each of those plans in more detail. But it's all pretty well laid out in terms of the enrollment projections for each district, their existing facilities, and their need for additional facilities to serve growth. I will say that every city that these districts are in have already approved these plans, so the county is the last stop for these 6. And I think Mary is on and Brett. So if they want to add anything, they can.
So I would just add that the Washougal School District certainly does have an interest in the next several years for our demographic study, as well as the OSPI cohort model, as well as our own internal modeling showed that based on lower birth rates and a housing boom from about 2001, that those students are now graduating out. We've not yet backfilled with another housing boom. There's this in-between space. Our demographer, however, did let us know that between now and 2026 that they would anticipate 2,000 additional housing units. 1,000 of those are those houses here, houses there. I can't tell you if that was unincorporated or incorporated, but most I believe that was in the city as the demographer was doing that study. The other 1,000 are from high-density apartment complexes coming into the Washougal area. Anybody who's come out to our beautiful area on 14, off of Highway 14, you're already seeing the development along the port. The actual Camas-Washougal port has not, they've broken ground for the development, but the one right next to it that looks like it's theirs it's a different development. So between that and then there's another development that's broken ground, we've got quite a few apartment complexes coming in. So to sum all that up, as a superintendent who's trying to plan for the future to make sure all of our students are supported and we have healthy communities, healthy schools, and healthy children, I'm curious to know, is there any projection on families moving towards this area? As you think about those 2,000 units, so maybe Jen Baker from Sierra ETC has some information. Who are those families? Our demographer says they will most likely, of the 1,000 apartment complexes, not be families with children. I'm just wondering about that as we think about the mobility currently, or that flexibility of high-paying jobs, families moving to quality of life places. We are definitely an educational destination where it's beautiful. I'm just wondering if anybody has any information on that from either the county's perspective or other colleagues like Sierra ETC.
This is Jenna with community planning. I was going to say I will shortly talk about the comprehensive plan update, which we will be looking very broadly at population growth for the next 20 years, but we'll have to do some breakdown demographically as well. So, while I have not looked at that data yet, we will be doing that very soon. So, it's going to be pretty across the county and broad, so I don't know how helpful it will be, for your district.
I'm a patient superintendent. I've had to be able to learn that. So I will wait and see if our demographer is correct, and if not, I want a rebate on the fee. Say that publicly.
I also want to say that these are 6-year plans. The county has a rule that they're updated every 4 years, but the law would allow updates once a year. So if things drastically change in Washougal, we don't have to wait for 6 years before we come back with an update and a potential impact fee recalculation.
And then I guess Chair Bowerman and Councilor Belcott, any questions you have at this time on the CFPs?
Well, I'm just thinking about our work that's coming up on the population decisions for the future. And certainly the question that you've asked is spot on for entering into what will be the population and how are the demographics of it to be dispersed among all age groups and particularly among school age kids. And you know, we're supposed to use OFM's data, and we have that in now, and it is to the point where we're looking at it. Councilor Belcott and the other 3 councilors and I are looking at it and beginning to ask questions. And we have some significant questions that I think are going to come up in that regard. For example, some say in business, well, the data is not being considered for the migration data that is coming into Clark County. And for lack of that, it affects how the population would be diverse. So I think I wish I could give the specific dates, Michelle, unless you happen to remember what they are, when we'll be having these discussions, because I think they'll be pretty interesting. I have a summary of what's going on in Clark County weekly, just a few bullets, 3 bullets or 4, and then what's coming up in just a brief paragraph. If any of you would like to receive that, just send me your email address and I'll add you to the list. And then you would know when we have that discussion, and it will be linked to where you can find the additional information on it. Because I think we all have concerns that those estimates on population be made well. Because if they are not, then we don't do well with providing the space and the land for jobs, and we don't do well with land for affordable housing and other, just all housing in Clark County. So there's more on that is coming up really soon. And like I say, just drop me a note. My email is pretty simple, as someone else mentioned a little bit ago. It's karen.bowerman@clark.wa.gov. And I'll put you on the list, and we'll keep you informed on those data to the best of our ability.
Chair Bowerman, this is Jackie Camp with Community Planning. I just wanted to share, we do have that population projection hearing scheduled for next Tuesday, April 18th at 6 p.m.
Thank you for that. So by the next day, we should have that collated a bit and available for consumption. Thanks, Jackie.
Yes, all the information is posted already. So if anyone's interested, I don't know if Jenna's got it on the slide, but if you are on the county's webpage and you go to the 2025 comp plan update page, we have all the documents listed there for the hearing.
And Chair Bowerman, I think you might be muted.
Yes, thank you. So I think these are the documents where council will have questions. And so it will be a pretty interesting dialogue, and I think one that you would enjoy being a part of, and then certainly hearing the end results, because it impacts us all. Michelle, do you have anything to add?
Just that I know that there are a few districts in our area where they've had drops in enrollment. I was wondering if anybody on the phone is going to be, if any other districts are noticing that their enrollment is going down as well. I think there was Camas in Evergreen have dropped. I was wondering if anyone else is has had an enrollment dips, because I know statewide last year there was probably 50,000 loss.
Yeah, I can speak to
Hopkinton School
Vancouver.
District's enrollment has declined since 2019-20, that school year. Say it's declined by about 5%. It was a bigger drop initially. It was around 12%. We did recover some of those students, but not all. And I think all the school districts have been trying to explore why, is there one factor, and there's multiple. I think there's been a decline in birth rate, which I heard might be ticking upward. I think we had a number of families relocate out of state. Some have chosen online or private school, platforms or opportunities. And so I think you just add all those up together along with homeschool. And I think that's kind of where you get most of the drop.
And I would just add in Vancouver anyway, we dropped about 7 or 8% kind of the first year of the pandemic. And now we've gotten back to about 5% lower than pre-pandemic levels. So we're starting to tick back up. So yeah, there is definitely a loss, and birth rates are affecting us as well in terms of our kindergarten cohorts. But we are seeing some kind of move-ins and returns at our upper grades.
Yeah, and in Evergreen schools, we had the highest percentage drop in the state of Washington, almost 14% enrollment drop. We have not recovered enrollment. We're on a continuing declining enrollment because some of those smaller class sizes are moving up through our K-12 system. So, but our enrollment, I would say, has stabilized. And so we actually commissioned a demographic study. It wasn't a real in-depth one, but be happy to share that with any folks that are interested in knowing what the demographers came up in terms of reasons for our enrollment decline.
Yeah, I would be interested in that, John. Thank you.
Could you shoot me or put in the chat, or I don't know how this works. This is a webinar.
Yeah.
John.Boyd at evergreenps.org.
Okay.
John with an H. Yeah, I'd be happy to share that demographic study.
Right. Thank you.
Do we have a chat feature?
I have it off, but I can probably enable it if needed. If I can figure out how to do that.
I'm not sure I could find it. I'm not sure I can find it that fast. I'd have to look at it, but I'll try to while we're talking here.
Okay, and then if not, John and Councilor Belcott, I can connect you after the meeting. So
sounds good.
Thanks, Jenna.
That sounds by far the easiest and fastest and most efficient.
Okay, well, I have a few more updates, so I'll keep going if that's all right. And if there are other questions or comments on this, we can come back to them. So the next thing I just wanted to talk about was the comprehensive plan update that the county is starting on. So we started to talk about this a little bit. So this is, the county as well as all of the cities in the county have started this process. Our updated plans are due June 30th, 2025. And so these are our long-range planning and policy guides for the years 2025 to 2045. And so there are a few pieces of these comp plan updates that overlap with school districts. So for instance, all of the school capital facility plans, they need to be adopted by reference into and incorporated into the updated comprehensive plans. And the county also has a schools chapter in its comprehensive plan. And so what the chapter has is a lot of background information, and it's on both K-12 and higher education in the county. And it includes a few county-wide planning policies, as well as, and so that applies across cities and unincorporated areas. And then there are also some county-specific policies that are just for the unincorporated area. The last time the comprehensive plan was updated, the two folks who were very involved in reviewing that chapter were Marnie Allen with ESD 112, whose role has changed, and Todd Bornstein with Vancouver Public Schools, who has since retired. The county, we're going to need some volunteers from school districts to review that chapter and provide feedback at some point over the next couple of years. So if you or any of your staff are interested in collaborating with us on that review of that chapter, please get in touch with me to let me know that. And then finally, the one other thing I wanted to mention about this project is that, you know, this is a 20-year plan. So I think about, you know, kids who are 10 years old today, they're going to be 32 years old for the end date of this plan, right? So we're really planning for their future. So if you can think of any opportunities to engage with youth or families in the, in the future planning for this area, we're very excited to figure out how to collaborate. So wanted to just offer that if there are opportunities that come up in your district for that. So that is it for updates from community planning. So I'm glad to answer any other questions.
And similarly, Jenna, I'd just like to ask the group if you have any announcements or questions for the group as a whole. Be great to hear from you. Jenna, is there anything that you wish to add in terms of confirming what our next steps will be before moving into that November 30 meeting, which I'm sure that you'll get good reminders from Jenna to put on your calendars. But is there anything in particular that you'd like to suggest regarding next steps for that?
Yeah, I think, so community planning staff, we will be in touch as the comprehensive plan gets underway. So on those items such as that I just talked about, you will be hearing, if not from me, from another staff member on our team. So there will be communication from us regarding collaborating with the schools on the comprehensive plan update. So I guess that's more of a heads up that that's coming during the next year. And then other key item, as we know, we have the hearing coming up on the school capital facility plans. So those school districts involved with that are aware of that. I'm happy to also just do any coordination. So for instance, Councilor Belcott, I'll connect you with Superintendent Boyd and some of those items I was jotting down as well. I'm skimming my notes just to see if there were any other next steps. I'm also, if anyone is looking for, once we have population numbers and do some more demographics as part of the comprehensive plan, feel free to contact me if that is useful for your school district, if you want access to that data once we get further along with that. I think that's all I've noted right now, but if anyone thinks I've missed anything, please let me know.
Anything for the good of the order? I should always ask a fellow counselor, Councillor Belka.
Sorry.
Nothing for me, Chair.
I heard someone else start to speak and I didn't catch who that was. Go ahead.
It was me, again, it was Mary Templeton. So I just wanted to thank the City Council. We as school leaders appreciate so much the time and energy that you put into making sure that we are part of the partnership. We know that high-quality schools equals high-quality communities, and that means strong economic development and health, and that clearly is your theme and is ours as well. So taking the time to support us this way, as well as supporting our CFPs, is appreciated. So thank you.
And just as an FYI, we will be hiring someone connected with economic development directly in the near future. And I look forward to that as a means for even further emphasis on that topic area. So that I think will benefit all of us as well. Is there anything else for the good of the order? And if not, thank you all for being here, and this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.